Hello, welcome to Heidi Relationships. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy the video. The first story is titled, My Wife Stopped Taking Her Birth Control Without Informing Me. My wife and I have been married almost 9 months. We tied the knot last December. We came into the relationship both wanting children. However, we had mutually discussed and agreed to wait until we owned a home, I finished school, and we had our finances in order more to start trying. The entirety of our relationship, she's been on the pill as her preferred method of birth control. My wife is out having dinner with her parents tonight while I'm hanging out at the house with some friends. She had ordered groceries to be delivered earlier today, and when they arrived I, of course, started to put things away. One of the items she purchased was a pregnancy test, which was such a shock that I literally felt my stomach drop when I saw it. Immediately I called her and asked why on earth she ordered a pregnancy test. Turns out about a month ago she decided to stop taking her pill because she thought we were ready for children. I asked why she wouldn't get my input on something so huge and she replied that she wanted to surprise me. I told her there's literally 100 different surprises that I would prefer currently, told her I'd see her later, and ended the call. Her period is due later this week, so unless she plans on taking it early, we won't know if she's pregnant for a few days. I'm livid. We are not in the position to become parents currently. I certainly don't want to be bringing a newborn into the world during a pandemic. I don't know if it's justified considering we are married and both eventually want children, but I feel absolutely betrayed that she would make a decision like this behind my back. We had even agreed that if somehow we got pregnant while she was on the pill that we wouldn't go through with the pregnancy. I know she'll be coming home soon, and honestly, I don't even want to look at her right now or know what to say. Am I right to be upset about this? What should I do? I'm currently working a full-time job while pursuing my master's. I literally do not have the time to be a suitable parent. Edit. She just texted me. I'm so sorry that you're reacting this way. You've seemed really unhappy lately and I thought you would consider this good news. A user in the comments said, she may be a crappy apologizer, but that pales in comparison to what she just did. What she did requires action, counseling for the two of you. I mean, you cannot trust her going forward. She doesn't think she did anything wrong, so she's going to need to hear it in many different ways. Show her info online about that term, reproductive coercion, hell. Show her these comments as so many are rightfully calling her out. To her, you are wrong and she's right, and it's hard to believe that a grown adult can be that far off the beaten path. What she did and her reaction is a huge red flag, and red flags of that level can't just be ignored. Well, they can, but it will come home to roost at some point in time if you give it short shrift. Another commenter said, Wendy Williams advised her viewers to do this. Your spouse was feeling insecure in the relationship and feels this gives her more power. If you think she was honest when she agreed to terminate an unwanted pregnancy, you're wrong. If she's not pregnant, file. The next story is titled, Update, My Wife Stopped Taking Her Birth Control Without Informing Me. I never expected the amount of replies I ended up receiving on my post. Nor did I even realize the gravity of my wife's betrayal at the time of posting. I had a lot of people comment or reach out asking for an update, so here goes. I had made the decision that until we knew if she was pregnant or not, that I just wanted some distance to cool down from my initial anger and shock. I told the wife this and spent a few days over at a buddy's house trying to process everything. Ironically, my wife's birthday fell within the days I wasn't home, so she's been extremely pissed at me, too. She ended up informing me this morning that she got her period and asked if that means I'm coming home now. I'm still feeling extremely betrayed by her, and although we did dodge the bullet this time around, I have so little trust in my wife now that I don't know if our relationship will be salvageable. I'd rather be a young divorcee than feel like I need to keep my condoms in a lockbox or something to prevent my own spouse from tampering with them. I'm not 100% sure if therapy would even be worth it considering she's still infallible in her own mind, but I guess if she sees the light and genuinely apologizes soon I'd be willing to pursue it just because I do love her. As far as I'm concerned, the ball's in her court and if she wants to try and make this right it's going to take some actions on her part that show she's truly sorry and willing to earn my trust back. I'm not sure that even if she does make the effort that our relationship is repairable at this point, but maybe after some extensive couples therapy we can figure out exactly where our relationship went wrong, where she thought that behavior would be acceptable. Thanks, Reddit. The next story is titled, I, 34F, feel unattractive and my husband, 41M, of 5 years has low libido. I, 34F, have been happily married to my husband, 41M, for 5 years. We've got 3 kids. Together we've made a family and help each other's dreams come true, both life goals and careers. We lead a generally charmed life. But like all relationships, none is completely perfect. We have different love languages, words of affirmation, mine, and acts of service, his. For the most part we overcome this by making a bit of extra effort to speak each other's love language. I do some of his chores during the week. He occasionally pays me a compliment, maybe 3 times a week. However, the trouble started after we'd had our 3rd child. We hadn't had sex for 9 months and when I brought it up, he was shocked. He could hardly believe it had been that long, but when he looked back, he could see it was true. We had sex once after that conversation, and then nothing again for a few months. About 6 months after our baby was born, I started to feel really down about the way I looked. I hadn't lost all of my pregnancy weight, about 1 kilogram over, but still totally within the normal BMI range. I felt fat and flabby and saggy. I tried to mask over this insecurity by just ignoring it for a while as I'm generally bubbly and confident, but the lack of sex made me seriously doubt whether my husband was even still into me. Google didn't help. All I could find were either stories of men who wanted more sex than their wife, I wish, or people telling women their husband wasn't into them anymore. All of this is complicated by the fact that I can't be the one to initiate sex as this can turn him off. And I also didn't want to pressure him into sex, so I just for the most part tried to make myself as attractive as possible and then wait for him to notice. It all came to a head one night when I burst into tears and confessed all my struggles to him. He was very sympathetic and also worried because of course he wants me to be happy. He explained that he just has low libido, nothing to do with me, and that as far as he's concerned, he'd happily never have sex again in his life. Not that he didn't enjoy it or anything, but he could live without sex no problem. He realized as a result of this conversation that I didn't feel the same way and he'd make an effort to initiate sex more often. Since then things have improved a lot, we have sex 1 to 2 times a month now. And we both enjoy it tremendously. But I still feel like I want more sex. And I still feel unattractive. Past partners couldn't get enough of me, they were always telling me how sexy I was, kissed me every day, looked at me like they wanted me, etc. I have always been treated like a sex goddess. He rarely even looks at me. I am only 34, I feel too young to be shelved like this. Frankly, I don't know if I'll ever want to be shelved, but definitely not in my 30s. I am frustrated that I can't talk myself out of feeling this way no matter how much I try. I am happily married. I am off the market. I shouldn't care whether or not I am attractive. It should be enough to know that my husband finds me attractive even though he never says so and only has sex 1 to 2 times a month. This should be enough and it's already 10x more than before. But I can't stop my feelings. I miss sex. I hate what I see in the mirror almost every day and I never used to be like that. I want to feel like a goddess again. Any advice? Any way to make myself feel better without asking my husband to change? Update. Wow, I am so glad Reddit exists. Thank you so much for all your thoughts and suggestions. My husband and I had a good conversation about everything, and we'll be taking the following steps. Start sleeping in the same bed again. I didn't mention it in the original post, but we've been bed sharing with kids in separate beds and clearly the time has come to evict the kids from our bedroom. He is going to see the doctor to exclude any possible physiological reasons. For example, low libido can be a symptom of heart disease and he's at an increased risk of that. Wouldn't hurt to test his testosterone levels either. We're going to hit the gym together, he'll go swimming, and I'll lift weights. If doing those 3 things is still not enough, we will go to therapy. Either as a couple or me on my own, or both, depending on how things pan out. Thanks again. A user in the comments said, "Honey, these desires don't just spontaneously die because you have a ring on your finger. You are allowed to want to feel attractive and desired. That's a basic human want and people of all ages and relationship statuses crave it." I think this is a moment for both couples counseling and individual therapy for you. Perhaps you can find other ways for your husband to make you feel desired, but you need to help him understand how crucial it is to you because if it's not something he craves, it might be hard for him to understand just how fundamental of a need it is for you. I'd imagine him working harder on words of affirmation would help, but I think you can brainstorm together about what would fulfill that need for you. You might even discuss opening the relationship just for sex if that's something neither of you is completely uncomfortable with. I'm sorry you're in this situation, it truly sounds difficult and I hope you guys can find a happy medium. Another commenter said, "Sexual libido waxes and wanes for both men and women and there's a lot of factors. Research actually shows testosterone in men goes down with children, so that and life factors may be at play. Regardless of libido issues, the bigger issue is your husband not wanting to give you what you need." At the OB/GYN clinic I was at, we saw a lot of women come in for low libido. They were all willing to do behavioral and even pharmaceutical things to raise their libido because they felt sexual intimacy was important to their partner. Some of the tips that we gave were there is no magic bullet. The more intimacy you practice, the more you want it. It's unfortunate that you are initiating turns him off. Scheduling a weekly sexual date, holding hands, kissing more, flirting more all contribute. Also consider having him masturbate more on his own, it can increase libido. Also with the kids you may need to find time where you have adequate privacy. I'm not familiar with the medical things for men's libido, but there are testosterone gels for women, so I'm assuming there may be something similar for men. Also, if he's on any medications, a lot of them affect libido. There's always hope. There are great healthcare professionals and therapists who deal with this and a lot out there if you can find the right people. The next story is titled, Update. I, 34F, feel unattractive and my husband, 41M, of 5 years has low libido. What happened? I decided to go to individual therapy, and focus on myself, work on myself. My physical self-image was a symptom of a larger problem. Troubles at work, troubles at home, a storm inside. During counseling, I opened the door to a cellar where I had been keeping my true self locked in the dark, ashamed of her. I was bullied as a kid, and I had no idea I had accumulated so much self-loathing since then. Releasing that was amazing and so freeing. And so, by the time I said goodbye to my counselor, I was stronger and more self-assured. I realized I had been sacrificing so much of myself for the sake of others, especially the important men in my life. My husband, my boss, my father, my manager, etc. I was constantly seeking approval, trying to please them. My relationships had gotten completely out of balance. Things started to get complicated. I developed a crush on a colleague, and because I am demisexual, my attraction to my husband started to diminish. The more time passed, the more I felt like I just didn't care anymore what he thought of me. At a low point, I said to my husband, "You know, you always keep your thoughts to yourself." I used to find it mysterious and interesting, like a puzzle I could unwrap. But now I realize that there's actually no mystery to unravel. There's just nothing. And the silence is boring. It was hurtful and unkind. I'm not proud of it. Something changed after that. Both for him, and for me. Over the course of the next few months I gave less, and I took more. I went to conferences, I left the kids with my husband, I took time off work, I stopped making up for the mistakes of my superiors at work and let them deal with the consequences of their actions. I felt like I was coming home to my true self, my no-nonsense kick-ass self. One night my husband and I were watching Alien, and he confessed that ever since he'd seen the original as a boy, he'd really liked Ripley. She was the kind of woman he had wanted to marry. And so, he married me. You should have seen my face, the tears wouldn't stop. I felt like he had finally told me what I needed to hear the most. I got rid of my attraction to my colleague. It's actually not that hard as a demi, I just focused on everything I didn't like about them, and within a week or two the crush was totally gone. I find them a total turn off now. Do you remember I mentioned I wasn't able to initiate sex? That's because it was a huge turn off for my husband. One evening we discussed why, and you know what? He felt too much pressure if I initiated, because he thought he'd have to perform. Once he realized that he can safely turn me down if he's not in the mood, and also that it's okay for us to kiss and cuddle without it leading to something more, he's been okay with me initiating. You'd think you wouldn't get to age 40 without having figured that out, but hey. I guess people never cease to throw surprises. Haha. Our sex life improved a lot. I no longer needed his praise to soothe my self-loathing, so I was less needy about it. He initiated a bit more often. But more importantly, with greater enthusiasm and quality. He chooses what I wear sometimes, and I feel so beautiful when he looks at me like I am the only being that matters. And he compliments me. We even got into a bit of light DS, which has spiced things up a lot. Even though I had fallen out of love with him for a while, I have fallen back in love with my husband stronger and harder than ever before. I couldn't be happier, I love myself, and I love him so much. He's just the best partner I could ever wish for. The next story is titled, Me, 36M, found out my wife, 34F, has been cheating on me, don't know what to do. Let me start with some backstory. We've been together for almost 17 years, have 3 kids, an old house we've been slowly restoring over the last 2 years, and our budget is not the greatest, no savings and lots of debt. She's the only woman I've ever been with, and before me, she had only a couple of one-night stands, so we were both little experienced when we met. She's been the light of my life, and we've gone through some difficult times together, and always have we been there for another. I thought we were one of the few who managed to stay on course no matter what. Apparently I was wrong. With all that was going on, trying to fix the house, both working full-time, trying to make ends meet and to make sure the kids are doing fine, we kind of lost ourselves. The bad financial situation and health-related issues didn't help either. My wife had been trying to lose weight for a long time, but nothing seemed to work for her, and her self-esteem was down to the floor. We were both depressed, but instead of talking and consoling one another, we suffered in silence. I buried my nose in computer games to hide from our problems, while she had her nose in her phone all the time. This spring and summer, things started going worse. She was spending more time with her friends and going partying, while I stayed at home with the kids. I thought that if I let her blow off some steam, that she would come home in a better mood, but that didn't work at all. I tried to ignore the bad feeling that was starting to sink in my stomach. I had heard a rumor that she had been seen kissing some dude at a dance in a nearby town. I confronted her about it, but she denied and said that the guy had tried to kiss her, but she pushed him away. I was not fully convinced, but didn't want to push her too much as I was trying to let her see that I trusted her. Yet as the summer passed, I noticed she was getting way more protective and secretive about her phone. After seeing by chance what her FB password was one night in August 22, I decided to take a look, to see if I could find anything about that dance earlier that summer. What I found was way worse. I saw that indeed she had been kissing some dude drunk as hell until her friend pulled her out of it, but that's nothing compared to what I saw next. I accessed her Messenger and Skype. I found out that she had been chatting online with two foreign guys, A and B, for months. It had started on Instagram. Some random dude, A, sent her some flattering messages and she started talking to him on Skype after that in early June. After only speaking to him for less than 2 weeks, she started sharing with him nude photos after only resisting a bit. The incident with the guy she kissed happened later that month. She was chatting with this guy up until midst of August, when he showed his real intention. He was a scammer with a stolen account and was just sending her pictures from that stolen profile. Yet she had been fooled enough to share with him pictures of her most intimate parts. She seemed like she was falling in love with him. By then she was already started to talk to Guy B, which also started on Instagram. Didn't take long for that to evolve to nude pictures and sexual talk. In both cases they were fantasizing about them coming to our country and meet with my wife at a hotel. She never spoke ill of me or anything like that, just talked about me like I was just there. If they asked, she said that I treated her well, but then she went on to tell them how she liked to talk to them and they made her feel good. The worst is yet to come. In one of the chats with a female friend of hers I found some more disturbing things. They went together to a 2-day town festival in another nearby town in early July, stayed at a rented room, which I of course had agreed to and thought would be okay, and I knew that my wife's friend who has trouble with panic attacks had needed to stay overnight at the local hospital. But what I didn't know and saw in that chat between them was that she mentioned a 41-year-old guy from our own town, Guy C, a married man with kids, who was unhappy in his relationship and she had met him that night. He had come over to chat and had tried to go all the way, but my wife told her friend that she had stopped him. She didn't mention the name, but I found out a likely suspect as our town is small, and I also found in my online phone records that she had sent a message to a number belonging to a guy that fit the description. I feared the worst. I didn't let my wife know what I had found yet, as I was afraid what would happen while the kids were around, so I put up a mask and waited until Saturday 24th of August to confront my wife. I had called my mother and got her to take care of the kids. My wife is taking some classes to get some form of degree for her work, and when she came home from class one asked her calmly to sit with me and I told her about what I knew. There was no violence, yelling or bad-mouthing. Just two sad people, one of them angry and hurt, and we talked the whole night. She promised that nothing had happened between her and C, and what she had done online was only to try boosting her self-esteem a bit as she thought I had stopped loving her. She didn't exactly try to blame me for it, nor did she yell at me for snooping around. She said she thought I didn't like her anymore because she wasn't losing weight, and when those guys started raining compliments on her she said she got addicted. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, she was selfish and tried to please them as she could so they would keep complimenting her, therefore sending them nude pictures. She told me that she saw it now that she had been cheating on me, but she hadn't realized it while she was doing it, even though she knew she was doing something wrong. I wanted to believe her, I truly did. But I had concerns. We decided to try to fix our marriage and seek counseling. As the weeks passed, things seemed to be getting better. She's been way more affectionate to me and caring. Our sex life has been great and we've been spending way more time together than before. I still had a growing feeling in my stomach that she was hiding some critical information from me, and after our second meeting with the marriage counselor last week, she finally admitted the truth. She admitted what I had suspected and feared but deeply hoped hadn't happened. She had indeed slept with C that night in July. And even though she said she had felt bad afterwards and shameful, she still kept talking to him via social media. She admitted to have met with him twice after that, but nothing more than a bit of kissing. She even tried to contact him again a few days after I had confronted her in August. My first response after that was simply freezing. I didn't yell or curse or anything. I didn't harm her in any way. I partly felt relieved that she had finally admitted what I suspected, but at the same time I felt humiliated and hurt beyond anything I've ever felt before. I didn't want to rush to anything, so I haven't thrown the ring in her face yet, nor have I confronted the other guy, as I don't want to be the person to rat on him to his wife or make myself get arrested for assault. Besides, it wasn't him that broke my marriage contract, it was my wife. I don't know what to believe anymore. The woman I thought I knew would never do something like this. She's been trying to convince me that she was an idiot and selfish and whatnot, and that she feels really bad about hurting me like that. She says she's ready to do anything to fix the situation and to get me to trust her again and feel like she's worthy again. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever trust her again or see her with the same eyes. I do love her, of course, and I like to be around her, and see her smile. But at the same time it stings my heart. I want this to work because of the kids and our crappy financial situation, as we can't afford going through divorce, but I fear that I will lose myself and never gain any self-respect if I go through with this. How the hell can I forgive her for cheating on me with not only one guy but 3? Well, 4, if you count that one time she kissed a random guy. She was both emotionally as well as physically cheating with all of them for some period of time. Not just a one drunk night mistake, but some kind of emotional and sexual relationship with 3 guys for over 2 months. Doesn't matter if 2 of those relationships were online. She still planned to meet with them, knowing fully what would happen if they did. Has anyone here gone through anything similar to this and has some good advice? I know it's easy to say, just divorce her man and move on, but it's not that simple. I still have feelings for her, and I don't know what will happen with our kids and our families. I also fear that if I divorce her, which will mean that her family and friends will know the truth, that she will harm herself or at least be in a mental state where she will have bad influence on our kids. We also have an unfinished house and no savings and need at least to finish fixing it in order to get any cash out of selling it. A user in the comments said, "4 guys? You don't forgive her. Not if you have any self-respect, that is." The next story is titled, Update, Me 36M, found out that my wife 34F was cheating on me with multiple men. But after getting lots of great comments from you guys as well as talking with my closest friends, I got enough encouragement to gain some faith in myself. I finally opened my eyes to what I had thought deep down, that there was no chance in hell that I would ever gonna get over what my wife did, so I decided last Thursday to tell her I wanted to end this marriage. I think she knew it was coming, as she didn't seem that surprised. She didn't even try to persuade me or anything. Just went like a broken record, nothing I say will change anything, whenever I asked her to say anything. There was lots of crying and she called in sick to work. We have since then been telling our closest friends and family about the incoming divorce, but she has been incredibly hesitant to admit what she did to her parents. My mother knows everything, but I for some reason agreed to not tell the in-laws about what happened yet. Maybe I'm afraid of a war between my soon-to-be ex-wife and me, so I agreed to give her time to tell them. When we met them last Sunday, we told them about the divorce, but as we had to leave 2 of our kids with them for 3 days due to school holiday, it didn't feel like the right time to come clean about their daughter's multiple affairs. Instead, we told them that there were some unsolvable disagreements, which felt really bad for me to say, because they seemed so disappointed. They have been part of my family for almost 17 years and I care about them, and they have been really supportive to us through the years, both financially, and they love spending time with our kids. I felt really bad about lying to them, but I'm afraid that if I go and spill the beans, my soon-to-be ex-wife will become hostile and make the divorce process that much harder. But my patience is not limitless. I will tell them eventually if my wife doesn't come clean soon. I don't want the real reasons for the divorce to go public either, as we live in a small society and the truth would eventually find its way to my kids and they might get picked on because of it. I'd rather for the truth to remain with our closest friends and family, while the official explanation would be that we divorced due to growing apart, wanting different things, etc. I also don't want to be known as the poor guy who had his wife porked by another guy. Now there are some big loose ends to tie. We need to sell our house and find apartments for ourselves. The custody will be shared, where I will have the kids for a week and their mother for the other week. I also feel like their legal address should be with me, so I won't have to pay her child support. Would be unfair after what she did. I have no idea how this will end, but often in my country, the mother tends to get what she wants, as everyone always feels sorry for them. I will fight for my kids though. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.